Welcome to Knife Thoughts. This video is going to be on this knife, and this is a Great Eastern Cutlery number 72 Lockback. And so this was actually a gift from a friend that I got recently and got as a user. So I wanted to show you some of the kind of modifications that I made to this knife and give you some comparisons to some similar knives and just kind of talk about this knife. So, like I said, this was a gift. It wasn't something I was expecting. So I was really excited to get it because I don't have a 72 in my collection or my carry. And one of the great things about receiving a user knife as a gift is that you don't have any qualms about using it. I could put this right in my pocket and actually enjoy it, actually carry and use it because it was already used. So this is from the 2016 run of the 72, and so it's almost 10 years old. They've done several different versions of the 72. They've done some spear point blades. They did some as special factory assemblies for the Rendezvous this year that people really enjoyed, but this one is the classic clip point. And this bone, I'm actually not 100% sure what it's called, but it's basically what they have called before cougar clawed bone. So you can see that it has really, really deep jigging to it, really kind of long, deep valleys and kind of natural brown look to it. So you can see it's pretty light on the front. There's some darker brown inside those jigged areas, but it's also very smooth. I don't know if that's from carrying or if this was a more polished version of this style of jigging that GEC did, but you can see that it is darker on the back. So I'm kind of guessing that it's from carry and use because it certainly was used when I got it, but I really like the look of this bone. It's something that I actually don't have any of what GEC has at least at some points called cougar clawed bone in my collection. And so it kind of looks like a natural or ancient bone with that jigging style of the cougar claw jigging. So I really like the look of it. Now, one thing is I am not really typically a lockback person. I do have and enjoy some lockbacks from Queen and things like that, but I don't have, I think, any lockbacks from Great Eastern Cutlery aside from this one. So it's not something that I'm super familiar with. But what I did was, first of all, this knife came with a good amount of side-to-side play. Now, GEC lockbacks often, I would say typically, have a little bit of forward and back, and it still does, you can feel a little bit of forward and back play, but that's true even for a lot of modern knives. So, for example, if you really kind of yank on a Spyderco, you can often feel a little bit of forward and back. Actually, now that I'm doing it on this one, I can't feel any on this Native 5 titanium, but often you can feel some forward and back play on lockback knives. So for example, this is one of the knives I wanted to show you a size comparison to, but this Buck 110 certainly has forward and back play. So there is still some forward and back, but when I got it, it had a good amount of side to side. So really the first thing I did was fix that by hammering the pivot here. So you can see what that does is it squeezes the pivot together. It does often or usually make it so that you can see the pivot pin, which you can see here, but I did polish it after that. So it's not as kind of catchy as it could be, although you can still catch your fingernail on it because it did have a good amount of play. So I tightened it quite a bit. But you put leather on either side, hammer it gently or not gently, depending on how careful you're trying to be, and it can take away the blade play, and it certainly did. Now, I did it pretty heavily because it had a good amount of side-to-side play, so I have had to kind of work it in since then, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. So you can see it still pulls itself closed really, really nicely from about a quarter open, something like that. And snaps itself closed, has a tendency or a preference towards closed, all of that good stuff, but doesn't have that side-to-side play. Now then, like I said, I did polish the bolsters. They had some scratches and such, so just kind of smooth them out a little bit, make them a little shinier, and really the main thing was polish in that pivot pin. Then the other thing I did was add this easy open notch. So the reason I did that is because I like easy open notches on users. I think that it's nice to be able to pinch a knife open with no issue about getting a good purchase. So I decided to add this easy open notch here above the kind of swell part of the handle, and it works great. I can get my thumb on there, get a little bit of purchase on the nail nick, and open it really easily. I don't know how well I'll be able to show this, but I can also take it out of my pocket and grab like this and swing it open. So you can one hand open it with that, and I actually like also the placement of this easy open because I can put my index finger in there and press the lock back and give it a little shake. And so it's basically one hand open and closed. So pull it out of your pocket, get a hold, swing it open, use it, and then kind of shift down and shake it and close it. So that's a nice thing. I mean, obviously I appreciate modern one hand opening, one hand closing and locking knives. So if it's going to be locking, if it's not going to be a slip joint like really all of the other GECs that I have, then I do appreciate being able to do it one-handed. Now I also kind of cleaned off the covers and the shield a little bit. I gave it a sonic bath. It did have some pitting on the back spring here, and there's actually still some rust inside the blade well that I didn't get out, but cleaned it up a little bit. And then I also put some polishing compound in the pivot to kind of help with that smoothness, and that can really help. It's not something where you want to leave polishing compound in there, but there was some kind of rust and such roughness on that, so some polishing compound and smooth that out a little bit. And I also did drop the kick slightly, so you can see it sits nice and deep in the frame, but no blade wrap that I've noticed. So I really like that. I appreciate that. If you follow my channel, you know that I hate blade wrap and proud tips. And then I also took the blade here, and I, had some pitting and some kind of rough areas like on the back spring. And it also has these really kind of deep vertical scratches. Who knows, cutting cardboard can do that, or, something abrasive. And so I was thinking, I didn't think I was going to be able to polish those out. So I decided to try to do a hand satin type finish. So I took some sandpaper and sanded, long ways. And actually it got rid of most of the, kind of areas that were rusting or oxidizing. The pitting is not completely gone, but it's kind of, I think, stopped. It's not going to continue. But it didn't really do a whole lot in the way of actually creating like the aesthetic of a hand satin. So I might have to try again with an actual sander or something. I don't know. To be completely honest, I'm probably just going to leave it how it is because I don't mind the scratches or anything. So as long as it's not rusting more, I'm good with it. And then, excuse me, the last thing that I did was add this lanyard. And so this is just some leather cord that I got off Amazon. This is a bead. This is a glow bead that was actually made by a friend and sent it that gifted it to me. So it's kind of two gifts in one, and just kind of helps pull it out of the pocket. You can grab this and pull it out of your pocket, and I think goes along with it with the kind of somewhat matching color of the glow bead and the cover here. And I do like leather for lanyards. I know, I've certainly used paracord a lot, especially on modern knives, but on traditional knives, I do like leather, as well as I've made a leather lanyard for my Sebenza that I carry a lot of the time. So, that's kind of what I did to this. And like I said, I wanted to show you some comparisons because I don't know that I have any other videos on 72s. So here it is compared to a Buck 110. So this is the Walmart lightweight version of the Buck 110. And you can see that the Buck 110 is a good bit bigger. The 72 is like the Lockback version of the 73, which is the smaller version of the 23. that GEC makes. So I'll show you a 73. And this one was actually also a gift. The person who gave me the 72 here didn't really want any, you know, call out or thank yous, so try to keep that kind of anonymous. But you can see they're very similar. They're not exactly the same, I don't think, but they're very similar in their dimensions and size. So if you're familiar with the 73, this is actually the Remington Prospector, I believe is what it's called. Yeah, the Prospector, the baby bullet knife. But, and you can see it is the R7352, but they are, it's a 73 made by Great Eastern Cutlery for Remington, and you can see how similar they are in size. And then I thought I would also just show you probably the best known GEC, which is the 15. So this is a 15 TC Barlow in rose gold acrylic. Honestly, one of my favorites. And you can see that the 72 is bigger than the 15, but the 72 I think is a very reasonably sized knife. It's something where you can really, you know, get a lot of work done with it if you're going to use it, which obviously I am using this one. But it's not massive, and so I think it's a great size for a lockback. I also sharpened it. I put a new kind of secondary bevel, a new apex on it, and got it nice and sharp, I think, here. And it feels great in the hand. You know, even with that easy open, my middle finger sits right in the easy open and can cut nicely. Classic clip point blade, just a really nice knife, and I really appreciate getting a knife as a gift, especially a really cool one like this. And so I actually checked with the person who gave it to me first to make sure they were okay with me modifying it, and they said, you know, I could do whatever I wanted, and I'm happy with how it turned out also. So really excited to have this one. I have been carrying and using it a good bit and will continue to. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, leave any comments below, subscribe to the channel, click the bell, and select all so you know when I post new videos. Check out my website, knifethoughts.com, where I post articles on knives like this and knife related topics. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.